What we're going to be talking about today is the standards. I'd like to acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the traditional owners of country and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging leaders. I come to you today from the lands of Gunai Kurnai people in Gippsland in Victoria. There's not a lot of us here, but if you wouldn't mind dropping into the chat who you are, where you are and what you'd like to take away from today's session. If there's anything in particular that you're looking out for. And you're both members, and Rowena, you're a student. I'm not sure if you're able to stay the full time or not.
I'll leave you on in the background just so I can listen.
Okay. So what is AMDRAS? It's the nationally recognised framework that sets out the professional standards for skills, practice, ethics and responsibility for dispute resolution practitioners, mediators in Australia. So from the 1st of July, we're fully onto the AMDRAS standards. Just there's a few legacy people that are still completing their AMDRAS accreditation process, but other than that, everyone is now a AMDRAS mediator, including you. There wasn't anything that needed to happen to make that happen. It was just a transition. So with the standards, there's the 8 areas for the standards themselves, and there are the appendices, the ones that are really relevant for you as practitioners around the CPD schedule, also the Code of Ethics and protocols and information around professional practice. The complaint handling is the model policy for providers, and there's information in the training and assessment protocols that are more towards new practitioners but also relevant for you as well. When you think about standards, what comes to mind? What's the first thing you think about when you hear the word standards?
Well, obviously being insured is the starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of your professional obligations. And what about you, Joe? What do you think about structure?
So it's regulation by what you work by.
Yeah. So it's basically the rules of our professional practice. So it's really important that we do understand them and have a really good understanding of what those expectations are. The other big change that AMDRAS has brought in is the levels of accreditation. So there's now accredited mediators, advanced mediators and leading mediators. There's still a process for alternative protocols to get approved for leading mediators, because the standard process is you'd have to wait 10 years before there's any leading mediators, which is a little bit long. So Mediation Institute's got our application in for the leading mediator alternative pathway process, and once that's approved we'll let members know. The exciting news is that the first specialisation has come out, which is elder mediation. There's information about that. There's a requirement that you have training and that you're also a member of EMAN and EMAN, which are the elder mediation associations in Australia and internationally.
Sorry, Joan, could you just, I'm not great with acronyms until I know what they mean. Can you just tell me what they are, please?
I've
never heard of them.
Elder Mediation International Network and Elder Mediation Australasian Network. So EMIN and EMAN, and if you search that in Elder, you'll probably get them both. It's quite a reasonably high standard to meet. I did the elder mediation training earlier in the year, and now I've got to meet practice levels with role plays in order to meet that specialisation requirement. People can't just be a specialist, they also need to be an accredited mediator in any of the levels. So we'll move on to the obligations and application for AMDRAS. The objectives that the AMDRAS board has established to regulate and promote professional standards for mediation, and those ones that are highlighted behind are really the aspects that affect you as accredited mediators, students seeking accreditation. The board also oversees the obligations that recognised training providers and recognised accreditation providers have. to be recognised, the administration of the standards and the public directory of mediators and recognised providers.
Am I supposed to be able to see screens at the moment?
You
Slides?
should. Are others able to see the slides?
Yeah, I can see the slides.
Yeah, I can too.
Okay. Yeah, is it hiding behind another screen
It
perhaps?
probably is. I
Bottom
might just
corner.
leave quickly and come back.
Okay.
That might work.
Thank you. So these are the 4 professional practice domains for us as mediators. Our professional knowledge, and that deep understanding of the relevant professional information, conflict theories, how they interplay, the different styles of mediation that are available. And professional skills, so they go together, the mastery of the essential practice elements, and then our professional ethics. As mediators, we do have professional obligations around requirements. For example, when you first accredit, you need to provide 2 references for people that have known you for at least 3 years that say you're a good person and suitable to be a mediator. You have to disclose if you've got any criminal convictions or professional disqualifications from not just mediation, but other forms of professional practice. As a recognised accreditation provider, we're looking at, is that creating a risk for potentially vulnerable clients that might be working with you? So our professional development, reflective practice, ongoing learning. So think about the domains and how they might structure. What domain do you think reflective journaling might belong to as part of your professional practice? You can use the chat if it's available to you, or you can just use your words. Skills, yeah, but probably more the professional development. So it's kind of the skills is the work, and then the reflective journal is thinking about how did I use those skills. What about active listening? What domain do you think active listening belongs to?
Skills?
Yep, I'll give you that one. Professional skills and probably also professional knowledge. So, what the hell is active listening? Does it mean listening when we're walking around? Maybe. The different aspects of our work can fit across a couple of different domains. Any questions? Has everyone here had a look at the standards yet? Yes. You can use your physical hand. No. Come on. There's homework for you, Joe. You can snuggle up in bed, not feeling great, reading the AMDRAS, having a really nice time. But yeah.
It'll be pretty much what was in MS.
No, look, it's expanded quite a lot from the NMAS. So, yeah, it is important that you get a copy and read it. It's available on the AMDRAS.au website.
I sent one when I was sent the AMDRAS from Fred. He sent me that as well. So I've already got a copy.
So it has updated a couple of times since it first was established. So the current version is February this year, and there's a few other little bits and pieces that the board will be updating later in the year. That's one of the changes with these new standards. They've been established in a way that can be updated as needed. The training and accreditation framework, this is the rules around what the certificate of training requires, and also the certificate of assessment you'll be able to look at that. I'm not going to read through this in too much detail, but it covers all of those requirements. With the certificate of assessment, it just takes us on a slightly longer role play to give people more time to display all of the skills and knowledge. So we'll have a look at the professional practice domains now. So this is sort of starting to drill down a little bit into the 7 areas of professional knowledge. For new mediators, all of this is covered. For those of you that are already registered practitioners, this is a good place to have a look at for thinking about your professional development. So is there a particular area that you think you could explore a bit more? That's a good question for those of you here. What areas of knowledge do you think challenges mediators in real practice? you can use your voice or the chat. What do you think? In real time with real people being difficult.
I guess when they say something completely contrary to your worldview or values.
Yeah. So, and that can fall into understanding conflict and the way that the people behave, and also fairness, our professional and ethical obligations. We need to work with people. What do you think, Sharon?
Oh, I was just asking, I didn't hear the question because I was wondering if I was on the correct slide, but I am.
Yeah.
So can you just give me a brief overview of the question again?
I was just asking, what areas do you think challenge mediators in real practice?
There's so many different methods of people expressing themselves. In a mediation setting, at least conflict can be expected, but controlling the emotional response to things and taking deep breaths and responding appropriately with open-ended questions to find out what is really needing to be expressed rather than nasty emotion or what have you.
Yeah, sometimes what's being expressed.
What do you really mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, they're just deceitful. Okay, well, in what way? What is it that, sometimes people use really value-laden words that what's behind that? What do you mean? That we need to dig down. Sometimes the limitations on guidance and advice can be a challenge for people as well. Often clients want you to give advice. They want you to tell them what to do, or they want you to, like, I'm right, aren't I? They're wrong. And, managing that without losing rapport and without breaching our ethical obligations can be quite tricky at times too. What do you think, Nim? Have you got any thoughts?
This is just going back to when I was doing the course, because I haven't officially done any mediation cases. The interruptions would be a challenge, even though we decide ahead of time that we will not interrupt each other. Just when people start saying, one party starts saying something that is obviously false according to the other party, then them sort of jumping in, interrupting, I think that could also be a challenge.
Definitely.
Adhering to the rules of conduct expressed at the beginning of the mediation, people being polite as much as possible. But there's a fine line, because sometimes when people get angry, they express things that are really important. So it's not rigid.
Emotions are part of how we think. It's part of working with people. The funniest experience I've had was when I was training a former school teacher, and she was getting frustrated with the role players, and eventually just went, shh, oh, and realised, probably not what we do as a mediator. No, probably not. So professional skills. Again, these are getting more into the practical application of our knowledge, the ability to conduct that initial assessment for suitability appropriately, and support for agency, self-determination, co-determination and cooperation. That's a big concept, and it's expanded from what used to be in the AMDRAS, which was just about self-determination, with more of a culturally inclusive lens, because self-determination in some communities is just like, what do you mean you make a decision just yourself? That's not how things are done. You need to talk to the elders or maybe the imam or someone. These things need to be discussed before a decision can be made. We need to think about the context of our clients, or even just discussing with their relationship partner or parent or whoever. Joe?
Yeah, going to the slide beforehand, you said some people may actually say they're right, the other person is wrong. And how do you balance all that out? With that slide, it's kind of trying to get the communication going and trying to get to see each other's point of view, so they can meet in the middle somewhere and see what really is important to them, and where they can actually give way to reach an agreement on different issues. So seeing each other's point of view and balancing it out, and rather than I'm wrong there, I'm right there, wrong. It's what's right for you is right for you, what you're trying to achieve, but they're trying to achieve this. How can we work it out?
Yeah, and that's the skill with mediation, because often people approach it thinking they really believe it. They're just wrong,
Yeah.
If they would just do things like I've been telling them to do, then everything would be sorted. Yeah, so how do we, supporting parties in the process to deal with that? When you look at those, some of you are fairly new mediators, some of you have completed training, and others have experience. Which of these do you think you brought into the process, which are more challenging to think through? Maybe just reflect on that. I've got a couple of scenario situations to just see how what we do fits in. For example, you're mediating a workplace dispute and you're into the exploration phase, and one's party's really speaking quickly, listing all their grievances, while the other's silent, back arms folded. Then you notice the silent party leaning forward as if they want to speak. So what professional skill do you think is most important to use there? So they're sitting silent, the other one's blah, blah, and the other one's not going to stop.
Right, you have my mute button on. I was just going to say that if the first person's speaking too quickly, you might just want to ask them to slow down a little bit, because you're taking notes just for the point form to get things up on the whiteboard. And you might want to ask the person that's looking comfortable if they need a glass of water or something, just to let them know it'll be their turn to speak soon, but just maybe changing the focus to the person that looks uncomfortable, or who may be purposely trying to display intimidating behaviour.
Neil, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say facilitating a fair process is perhaps out of this list.
Yeah. So that's right. And it might relate to active listening. One person's talking, but when we're active listening, we're engaging with body language as well. So someone hasn't said anything, but they've now leaned forward and
emotional intelligence as well, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Supporting the parties in the process, as you were saying. So there's a number of aspects. Let's have another example. You're in a community mediation and one party keeps interrupting and dominating the conversation, and the quieter party barely gets a chance to speak. What professional skills should we use to draw them out in this situation?
Supporting parties in the process to speak up and feeling confident if there's cultural or gendered underlying factors.
Yeah, absolutely. So there may be factors like that. There's definitely some sort of power dynamic there. And it comes back to facilitating a fair process and our ethics as well. So Fiona, welcome. We're kind of halfway through. I'm not sure if the times were a bit strange for you. Oh, no, I haven't got sound. I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe use the chat as well. Can others hear Fiona? No?
I can't hear her.
No.
I can see her talking, but nothing coming through.
That's right. I'm not good at lip reading. Not one of my skills. So here's another example. So you've got two neighbours in conflict, then using a lot of blame language, like you always, you never, and the conversation's escalating. So what professional skills could you use to shift the discussion into something a bit more constructive?
Facilitating a fair process, reminding them of the behaviour they agreed to at the beginning of the mediation process, let them know that they can have the opportunity for a private session where they might want to express something they don't want the other side to hear. Just maybe asking an open-ended question if someone is not expressing themselves properly, so they have time to think and slow down and answer a relevant open-ended question.
If you always, you never, it's not very future focused. A lot of blame there.
Reframing it so that you draw out the respect and take out the language that is too aggressive and get to the underlying concerns of what they're trying to articulate.
Absolutely. Reframing and summaries can support a more constructive dialogue as well. That might fall into supporting the parties in the process. Their communication skills might need a little bit of extra propping up. So is it meaning that you're looking for ways you're wanting to have a conversation about how to achieve that moving forward? Is that right? Try and bring them along. I had another scenario, Joe, which was the one you raised. During negotiation, both parties insist their solution's the only one that will work. Tensions are starting to rise. What professional skills could help the mediator open up more possibilities for the agreement?
Well, the only thing I can think of is to make them think of the other person's position and what they would like to see.
Sometimes people's empathy quotient is very low. It'd be great if we could just inject it, but haven't found
Yeah,
it.
the thing is, what they first agreed to is to discuss all the different issues that they have between it
Absolutely.
to actually be in a constructive way that it actually works to benefit both of them
Yeah,
so they can move
absolutely.
on nicely.
So we
And
might bring them
nice-
back to some of those ground
Yeah.
rules. I'm a bit confused. You both said that you're here to try and resolve this issue. One of the skills that we often use is problem solving or option generation. So, you know, if there's only two options on the table, it's pretty much going to be a power struggle if you can
Yeah,
get
but
more options.
Oh, sorry. We usually do that during private sessions. That way it can be individual. When they come into the negotiation session, then we, depending on what they want to bring forward to talk about,
Yeah,
what's been discussed, it's probably better to do it that way. So it's discussed probably in full.
yeah,
Because you can't do it in exploration. Sometimes if you might as well not waste time if you can see it's not going nowhere. Exploration. Talk through it in private sessions and then bring it forward and spend the time in negotiations where they can bring forward what's been spoken in private sessions.
Yeah, sometimes they can co-create together in that negotiation or even in exploration options. So, you know, we can have some flexibility there. They may be totally stuck during your private sessions. You've tried everything, you've done, you know, what will happen if, and all your skills have been out and they're just like, yeah, no, they just need to see things my way and we'll be fine. So, yeah, maybe that's where you do, you know, supporting.
Then you really can't if they
Yeah.
got that mindset. If they got that mindset, you really can't.
But, you know, another one of our skills is eternal optimism. You know, we keep expecting that something's going to work all the way till it doesn't. But yeah, no, you're right. But also, you know, looking at are there other ways of bringing in options. So I can hear a bit of a buzz. Is that you, Fiona? Have you got sound now?
No, not yet.
No. No. Oh, there you are.
You can hear me. Sorry.
Yes, I can hear you now.
We can hear
Oh,
you
great.
now.
I apologise for being late. I was stuck in another meeting.
Oh.
I just wanted to say the rationale for joining the meeting was really in terms of finding out a little bit more about that process for applying for reaccreditation as well. After the evidence that you need to put in and things like that, I'll be doing that in February. So I was just interested in a bit around that too, Joe.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I've got a slide that covers that.
Great. Cool. Thank you.
So when you're thinking about where do my skills, like how are they relevant to AMDRAS, you see that they do map across to those professional skills. Behind all of these categories, there's a lot of detail in the standards in the appendices. With our professional ethics and responsibilities, we've got 8 areas. Some of them overlap, like support for agency, self-determination, that's an ethical responsibility, it's part of our skills and it's also our knowledge, whereas providing a feedback and complaints mechanism is firmly in that ethical obligation that we've got, that we must provide. I've got one scenario for you. A party appears intoxicated during your intake. What AMDRAS principles guide your decision about proceeding or not?
Asking them if it could be rescheduled without accusing them of anything. Just mention that it's important to make the most of the intake session and give even time to both parties to prepare for the mediation. Some people might have a physical disability that could be misconstrued as being intoxicated with alcohol. Some could be on medication, but I mean, you could ask them sort of couple of open-ended questions and see how well they were understanding. If you didn't think that they were, you could reschedule it. But because you don't know the person, you don't know what they're like when they're at their best. So that might be their best. I was on a tram in Melbourne CBD very early one winter's morning and the tram was packed years before COVID. There was this man on the tram who looked like he'd been tailored by Savile Row in London. The outfit was just extraordinary, but he was on serious drugs. I just asked him, where are you going dressed like that? He said, I'm going to the family court. You cannot go in that condition. I said it to him very quietly, but he just thought if he looked $1 million,
it'd be fine. And had a little bit of courage and
a lot of something. I don't know what, but it was obvious very early in the morning.
Yeah. Excellent. That was a good response. Evelyn, Elaine, were you going to say something? No, just leaning in. Absolutely. It's an ethical dilemma and we need to consider because, if someone's intoxicated or not understanding us for another reason, we need to consider their capacity to participate meaningfully and are they understanding? You can't sort of have self-determination and agency if you don't know what the hell's going on. So there might be other supports needed. The fourth domain is professional development. We'll go into the details of that a little bit further along for you, Fiona. Engaging in reflective practice, continual professional learning and contributing to leadership as you gain experience over time. Here's the slides we're looking for. Hopefully that's clear enough. This is the first application, the disclosures I talked about, having your complaint handling body, which is through accreditation provider or it might be your employer, and having professional indemnity insurance unless you're covered by statutory immunity. So if you're working for a tribunal or something like that, there may be cover. And then every 2 years renewal, the practice hour requirements have dropped down for accreditation. So it used to be 25 hours, but it's now 20 hours for those 2 years and 40 hours for the higher levels. Does anyone have any questions about that? Just start. And then the renewal. So the practice hours is 20 hours. There's been some changes there as well. So it can include mediator, co-mediator or third-party dispute resolver. That's if you're working in a mediation format, but perhaps internally within an organisation where you're not fully independent. Categories and maximum hours. You can't just go to a conference for 25 hours and beauty, I've done my CPD. You can get 20 hours out of that. The National Mediation Conference is coming up in September. I'll see you there if you're thinking of going. Structured peer-based reflection. So if you were doing that, I'd be using a reflective practice template so that you've got that evidence if you're audited, rather than just saying, oh yeah, I did some of that. When did you do that? Who did you do that with? Professional supervision or coaching, providing professional development, and you can do presentations. If you do a presentation for us, for your peers, you get 2 hours of preparation time and an hour if you did a 1 hour webinar. Get in touch with Rowanna if that's something that interests you. If there's something you'd love to share, that would be very useful. Role playing, you can claim up to 2 role plays, so up to 4 hours. So we ask for a copy of that during the renewal process. So you should be keeping a register. And now, in the past, it didn't matter how many hours of practice you were doing above the minimum, but now it does, because we've now got the higher levels of accreditation where you need the hours to be eligible to do the practicum certificate to become a advanced mediator, and the hours to be a leading mediator as well. Yes, Nim.
Quick question. So with the education, so the courses like this one that we're currently attending, be part of the education, the
Absolutely.
20 hours?
If you watch recorded webinars.
So you can do 20 hours of that, but for the remaining 5, you just mentioned 2 role plays. Is that just we pop our names in the scheduler?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can volunteer to role play for students. So you can get up to 4 hours of that. Representing clients in a dispute resolution process. If anyone's working as a lawyer or does any work as a support person, you can claim a few hours for that. self-directed learning is kind of a catch-all, but you need to say what it was you were doing. So, oh, I'll have 5 hours of that, please. What did you do? I was self-directed and I was learning. I may not accept that. We might want a bit more info. Yes, Fiona.
Thank you. I was just wondering, within the hours presented across the different categories, do you have to hit a minimum of those hours? And then if you go over, that's okay. So I'm just thinking I have more in some categories and a bit less in others.
You don't have to get all the categories. It's not like legal CPD where you've got to get something in each of the categories. It's just so that you don't claim all of one type of PD.
I see.
Yeah, so it's very flexible. You'd have to be really disengaged from the sector not to get to an hour a month with plus one for the pot.
With your practice hours of 20 hours, would 2 full day mediations with prep time, would that, so do they count it as like, that would be 7 hours?
Yeah.
Plus,
Absolutely. So and you can include up to 5 hours of pre-mediation.
Okay.
So if you're doing some cases and they don't proceed all the way to mediation, you can claim up to 5 hours of those. You're feeling more comfortable for February now?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. I work full-time in a different sector and do ad hoc freelance. I've just been accepted into the Magistrates Court for South Australia as well. It's quite difficult when it's an addition to, because it's hard to earn full-time as a mediator unless you put your heart and soul and, and sort of are out, in practice or whatever. So I think it's about making sure that I feel confident enough to honestly reflect that I've had that many hours and feel confident to go forward with that. I was thinking through how to actually showcase that in all those different things, but that makes me feel better, given some ideas of where I have done more than others. I think that should be fine.
Absolutely. The main thing is to keep stock so that you don't get to January and think, oh, what was I doing middle of last year? That's the stressful thing. We've been playing with AI a fair bit. So we've now got a relatively well developed AI tool for members. We're calling it, now this website isn't set up yet because we're launching this at the national conference next month. But it's actually quite a full tool for tracking your log. You can feed it information about what you've done and it will keep track for you. I can show you that in a moment if you like. Where did I put my link? So there's some tools. There's also in the members website, My Members, when you attend these events, we normally tick it off for you. That'll show that you've attended and it's been approved for the hour or whatever.
And it's been marked off today.
You've all got an hour there. We'll be generous even if you came a bit late, so you can go back and watch the other half of it. I'll just share a little bit about AI in a moment. I just wanted you to take a moment to maybe do a little reflection. We're working on a supervision course at the moment, so I'm thinking about different ways of reflecting. We're going to use a very simple model. What next? Stood out for you today in the context that you're coming from. You can either use the chat or your words. What does that matter to you in your mediation journey? What's one specific thing that you could apply from today's webinar? Who'd like to share?
So I'll just speak first. For me, it's been an amazing refresher because I'm coming back to it after a while. And I think it's given me a lot of food for thought to reflect on in terms of the skills that are required for the various scenarios. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Thank you. You can go and get the AMDRAS and delve down between all of those 8 and 7 and whatever categories for all the little detail underneath. What about you, Nim? What are your thoughts about today?
I think what stood out for me, it's like when you read law and it's more about the practice and the common law that is more important than the regulation or a sentence. Reading the standards, it's words to me. What's always important is the cases. I know, Joanne, you've put examples and reflective discussions. And it's always useful to see that tied to an example When you talk about reflective practice, that's great. But I guess as a person learning or relearning, to hear these different stories and from your practice to make those standards more layered and colorful rather than just reading rules. So for me, that's why I appreciate listening to your experience and expanding on how a scenario could tie into different skills and knowledge.
Yeah, excellent. When we're going through standards or course material, what does this mean? What do I need to do about this? So yeah, what do I do with this information is really a thing. So yeah, and for you, if that's the way you learn, really thinking about those scenarios that might come from the plain text on the page or the observation. Excellent. That's great. What about you, Sharon?
I was really pleased to know that I could log intake time because I'd never thought of that before. I did an hour intake the other day, so yeah, I'll be logging that one. He's the CEO of a company, so it wouldn't normally take an hour, but because of the complexity of the situation, it could actually turn into 4 mediations within the same organisation just due to a workplace situation. But yeah, I never thought of that before, so I don't know why, but there you go.
Look, it wasn't really articulated in the AMDRAS, so I don't know that it was really allowed. But you know, those of us that do mediation, often the best work happens in the intake, the pre-mediation. It's good that it's getting more recognition as being an important part of our process in the new standards. What about you, Joe?
It's kind of a mixture of things, really. So I can't really point at it. But it was also interesting to know what we needed to cover to keep to renew the registration.
Yeah.
To keep it.
Absolutely.
But I've already done 3 hours of the role play, or 2 role plays. Is Tracy's number still the same? Because I tried to call her to see if there was any new role plays, and I said this number isn't no longer in use. I don't know if she's changed her number or is she still the person to call for role plays.
Got a new phone system. I'll get her to send an email out.
Okay.
We had a horrible time in July with a phone system we switched to that didn't work. It moved on and numbers should be there. But yeah, I'll let her know to let all of the people on her role play list know. And yeah, mate, don't forget to log them.
One thing I've been trying to work out is, besides what we've done here, how do you price per hour, per half day or day? How do you work out the pricing? That's what I can't find difficult to work out. What should I put? I mean, I've already put it with the agreement form, what I think it should be, but I don't know if I've gone one.
Yeah, probably not the right forum. We've got group supervision coming up soon. We don't want to be accused of price fixing by
When did you say that we got a coming up?
Group supervisions?
I think it's Friday night.
Friday.
5:30.
Oh, okay. Oh, the one on the 5th?
Afternoon, yeah.
Okay, the one on the 5th. Okay.
I think it's 5:30 till 6:30.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Currently says online via Zoom, but it will be changing to Teams.
Okay.
Fiona, what about you?
Well, considering I came in quite late, I apologise for me, I actually found it really helpful for you to list it out in terms of what the hours were in that little table. I found the actual AMDRAS website quite confusing to navigate in terms of finding the right information, and I don't want to have to read a policy and going through that when you're time poor. So that was super helpful for me. It's given me much more confidence in applying and putting in my reaccreditation. And do you do that through your recognised body that you are associated with?
Yeah, just contact them and they'll have a form you can download or fill out online. They are supposed to ask for at least your list of PD and practice hours, but you know, there's always a slight variation in interpretation, but have it ready. With practice hours, always de-identify clients. It's really just keeping a bit of a log of when things happen. They would never ask for client details or identities. If they do, just say no. Talk to the AMDRAS board about that.
If you get accredited through one RAT, I got my qualifications through the Resolution Institute, would I go with them, or because I'm now a member with you, I could go through you. How does that work?
Yeah, you need to choose who your accrediting provider is. So you can
Right,
be a
okay.
member of any. So you can transfer. That's not a problem. Or you can just renew with them. So maybe that's something to have a look at when you come
Yeah.
close. We can have a chat. It's not a difficult process to transfer between one or another. Or you can just be a practitioner member with us, attend all of the events for free and that sort of thing. And you can be on the directory. The standards only allow you to have one accreditation provider, and they're your complaint handling body usually as well.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Just, yeah, so
But
people
should-
know. Yeah.
Is one this? Are they both one and the same, or can you the handle the ones like the accreditation body and the handlers for complaints? Should they be the same?
They're usually the same. So normally your accreditation provider, there is provisions to have someone other than your accreditation provider if that's the case. And in practice, for example, Fiona, if you're on the panel, then if there's a complaint, it'll go through that panel. They'd normally resolve it fully there. They wouldn't send it off to Resolution Institute unless there's a complainant that contacts everyone.
Can you have both as a member? You've got hopefully there's never going to be a complaint, but if you do, can you have both, the ones that you're accredited with and the membership we have with you?
You need to make that clear to everyone if that was the case, particularly to clients, because one of our ethical obligations is to provide them with a clear process. It's normally who you're accredited through that would be your complaint handling body, but there was some provision because there are a couple of recognised accreditation providers that don't do the complaint handling themselves. That's sort of done externally. It usually is done that way.
Okay.
And of course, like if I'm a member of Mediation Institute and lead the complaint handling service, but if there was a complaint about me, I'd need to get someone from another accreditation provider to do it, because obviously if I investigated it myself, I would find myself blameless. Not at all. Generally, it's going to be whoever your accreditation provider is, that's your complaint handling provider, but you can be on a panel or a member of any number of accreditation providers that you'd like to be. Thank you. So that's to stop the sharing. We have run over slightly, but I will do the GTP. I can find you again. So this is my members coach, and I'll just pop it into the chat. Is anyone playing with AI at the moment, or is it just a strange, scary thing that you don't want to know about? Where's my chat? So, I couldn't find chat. I'll just.
Is it accessible through my website too?
No, we haven't got it all linked up yet, but I've just popped it into chat for you. So let's say I'm using this little thing to add to my CPD register.
Chat's not available to only members of the team. That is only me. I can't see.
You need to log in.
That's fine.
I'll just show you, and we'll be getting full guides about how to use it. So it's just, you can let it know what you'd like me to record. So it should ask me, basically it just automatically does a little registration. Do you want it under today's date or another date? Today's date. My attitude to AI is it's here. It's going to continue to expand. I don't think it's going to fully replace us. It's useful. It's making my little register here. It's supposed to know when I top out of a category and let me know that you've done all the number of hours you're allowed in that category. you better do some other things. Yes, please. I'm always very polite to my AI because when the machines take over the world, I want it to think, oh no, she was nice to me.
I'm glad I'm the age I am, actually.
My grandchildren are considering, one of my job options that's not going to be overrun. Yeah, so basically you can use this tool. We'll get that MIAI page up with guides and things how to do that, but it's an option to quickly keep track. You can dictate to this thing as well if you have it on your phone, and it'll keep. Oh, it's got an error there. 20 hours of CPD, it should be 25. But anyway, just to give you a little idea, we're trying to get it so we can do practice and things like that for students. So you'll get more exposure, Elaine, to play with it. We'll send out more for members. You can use AI. There's a register on the MI website if you're a practitioner member. There's also a template on the standards in the appendices that you could just photocopy and use as well if you're a pen and paper person.
I just had a very interesting scenario while I was trying to look for your chat, because you've changed over to Teams. I had an interview for a contract the other day for a 12-month contract with a commission, and I started chatting to them.
Oh dear.
Quickly delete it.
Oh dear.
It's one way to draw attention to yourself.
Yeah, like, oh, she's kidding. That's where your chat was. You're off with the commission.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for engaging, because it makes it much better for everyone if you do. That was great. For people on the AMDRAS or NMAS training, we've got the reflective session on Friday. Yeah, if you check the events on MI members/events. We're having a little bit of trouble finalising the details on a few of our September events, but there's usually something on each week. There is the group supervision for all members, and students are welcome to come along and participate, and that's really an opportunity to talk about case type things. They aren't recorded, so you do have to attend live. Fiona, I think you know about the in-person events in Adelaide. Have you been going to any of those?
I do know about them. I haven't had a chance to go to any yet.
There's another one coming up very soon if you get the chance. There's a few people on the panel there as well, so that's useful to get a feel for what's going on. Sorry we're over time, but take care everyone. I'll see you soon.